City.
Start streaming. Good morning, everyone. This is episode 277 of the OotiniCast. Fair warning, this is the raw version, which we do not edit. So this is how the sausage is made, as it were. Yeah, not much else to say beyond that. In the fact, oh well, I've in a bit of a rush this morning because I spent last night, when I should have been preparing for the show, playing the HK 55 chapter. And yeah, so I've been in a bit of a rush getting all that going. I just got to put my thing into studio. Could you do that as well, Kuze, if you haven't already? I know Chill will have.
You just got really quiet all of a sudden, too.
Yep,
Why is that?
That's because I hadn't actually put into studio mode.
Ah.
Also started Audacity as well.
Yep. I'm just fixing the gain on my mic. People saying funny thing. Did Tio get a haircut? Yes, I got a haircut. I actually kind of prefer it short. I just had let it go way, way, way too long. So, yes. Anyway, that's all beside the point. Now, just checking my audio levels. They seem fine. Chill, are you recording?
I am recording. Test, test, test. Looks good.
Kuze, are you recording?
I am recording.
Do you need any more time, or are you good to go?
No, I was actually running a little bit behind today too, so I'm glad we got a late start.
Yeah, that was partially me and partially because Chill is always late, as it were.
Yep, hopefully the fall will bring better timing on the bus. So.
Right. And yeah, actually, for me, when the time zone switch happens, the recording starts an hour later, so that'll be like 10:30 in the morning my time. So I'll have even more time to muck about. All right. Oh, I got a last-minute tip of the week. All right, I'll throw that in.
Okay.
That's from AJ, but I didn't count him when I did the... Alright, so I'm going to put him in for next week's draw, if that makes sense. Sorry, people who are watching that, because I just made the video go blank. Maybe. But it's an HK tip, so I think we should probably put it in now. Alright, now, I would... suggest I'm going to talk about my own playthrough of HK, obviously no spoilers, during the news. Do you want to save your thoughts on that? Kuze has tips. Alright, Kuze.
Yeah, just one sec.
Thoughts on when did you're
on the HK chapter? Yeah. Just can you save it for that, or are you
yeah, for the actual tips section, or like
for the week when we actually talk through the
no, yeah, I just said the truth. Sorry guys, talking to the wife to fill her in. She was getting home late too.
Actually no, Chill, feel free to talk about it in your week. I'll do the same.
Okay.
Because yeah, I'll just bring those notes up. Because they were just saying that if you want to talk about the HK chapter, have you played it?
Mm-hmm.
I can't play it.
Oh.
You weren't. Yeah, you weren't subscribed the whole time.
I'm one of them. Yes.
Right. I'm so sorry. Did it involve the actual shroud? Yes.
You did actually.
See, that's the part that's kind of got me a little upset because I could care less about playing as HK, but if it had the shroud in it and it was a continuation of the story or something like that.
Oh, was it ever?
Well, see, that's so fucked up. It's not even funny. That's the part I would have subbed. I wouldn't even played the game, but probably subbed until that chapter came out if I knew it was a continuation of the Shroud, because the Shroud's way cooler than HK is. God, that pisses me off.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well,
I'll try to avoid actual spoilers, though.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. Yeah, I mean, you'll always have the various videos that are out there of playthroughs and so on.
Which I would recommend watching if you care about the whole story behind it.
Right, I should probably take yesterday's stream and just archive it so it doesn't just go away in a week.
Mm-hmm. I think Volk had a just the cinematics video.
All right, Yahoo. Well, I got it. No, I'll save that. All right. Are we ready to roll?
Uh-huh.
Kusei, you good?
Good.
Let's do it.
All right, going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. I'm sure you've heard our name, most commonly accompanied by a longing sigh from one of our former conquests. This is episode 277, being recorded on Thursday, September 8th, 2016. I'm your host, Jill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys. I have no idea what that was.
Someone hasn't done Rishi in a while. Our guest today is Kuze. Kuze, how you been?
Pretty good. Try to take it slow today. I had a rock star. I feel like that little squirrel off the Over the Hedge cartoon where he's going about 100 miles a minute after he drinks an energy drink.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I currently resubbed. What I did was I looked for one of the various packages that they have either on Amazon or on Origin. I already did the one on Amazon, and I wanted to see if I can apply the one from Origin as well to see if it would stack on top of it or if they would let you, because you can't use the same package twice. Mm-hmm. So, sorry, my kid's looking at me through the window. I went to Origin, I grabbed the package, and I tried to pay to Origin so many times it's not even funny. I used 2 different cards. I typed the cards in multiple times. It just would not take my my credit card. So I was a little frustrated. I called them up, made a complaint, and they couldn't do anything about it. They don't know what's going on, and the person I was talking to wasn't the right person. So they said, you can talk to these other people, but they're not in the office right now. So you can contact them tomorrow or next week or something like that. I was like, no, forget it. If you don't want my money, then I'm not going to give it to you. Well, they also have an option to give to pay with PayPal, and the wife has a PayPal account, so I had her get on there, and she paid it. And it actually went through, and it did stack. So I used both the Amazon code and I used the Origin code, and they both stacked. It gives you 2 months subscription with
cool
1,050 cartel coins, and it was for $30. So,
and we discovered that your credit is not good with Origin.
Yes, evidently not.
What does that
so
mean?
that was
I'm missing something there.
with my credit card, I guess.
Oh, like the credit card had to be updated or something?
Who knows? Anyway.
Who knows? Like I said, I use various cards. So anyways,
I see.
So once I subbed, I went ahead and I finished up the chapters. I did chapter 16. I enjoyed it mostly, but I kind of feel like there was a lot of build-up for something that me and a small team could have done, for the most part. You know, towards the end, it seems like you did this whole alliance building just for... I mean, I could have just went in and did it myself. So that I had some strife with some of that storyline stuff there.
But it's not over, Kuze. It's not over.
That's true. It's not over yet.
I did start a DVL character, and just for the fun, I also wanted the XP gear, just in case when the next expansion comes out, if it's, I don't want to say it's a pain to level. I'm sure it's not going to be, but it would be nice to have the XP gear so I can level faster.
That's funny,
whatever
Kuze.
else.
That's funny.
And they also have some good items in those packs that, if I can get lucky enough, I don't have to buy them off the GTN. So that was my other reasoning behind it. So I'm up to level 40 right now, and I'll try to finish out to at least get to the Eternal level before they end it. I was doing some PvP on that character, which is extremely fun. I haven't done PvP in a long time. And I am a Hutball fan, and fortunately for myself, I've gotten pretty lucky, which just about every single match has been Hutball. I think I did one Alderaan and like one arena, and that was it.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It was great.
Not if you like it, yeah.
I still wish they would put in the arenas like gas traps or fire traps or something else, just besides running around and kill each other. Maybe you can knock other players into things or whatever else. I think it would add a little bit more gameplay value.
Sure.
Right.
Of course, bought some more decos. I had access to my escrow account, and I spent most of that 72 million that I had, and I actually earned it back. I bought a couple packs, or hyper crates rather. So I bought 2 hyper crates, every 26 million a piece. Sold some of it, bought some other stuff, and I'm sitting around 59 now. So not too bad for all the stuff that I had bought. Of course, bought various armor sets as well. I did get some interesting stuff in those cartel crates. Some of those, what was it, the ISO droids I got a couple of those. I was trying to get the vented lightsaber, but of course that didn't happen because that would have been a nice chunk of change. I did get one weapon tuning. I decided to try to sell it instead of using it myself. So
Which one was it?
I forgot which one it was, actually. Yeah, I don't remember the name on it. But it's been pretty busy. Whenever I get free time, I'm in SWTOR for the most part, just relaxing. I do have an upcoming trip, a business trip, and unfortunately I'm going to take my laptop, and the only thing I can do on it is level, so it's probably a good thing for my DVL character, since I can't do much else for that. But everything's been pretty good.
All right. And Tio, how about your week?
Well, I've been away on business yet again. Going again next week. It's just fantastic. Yes. Planes. Yes. Anyway, so I did actually play last night. I wanted to play the HK55 chapter, and as we discovered, you do have to have recruited HK55 first. I suppose that kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yes.
I suppose it does in the context. It does in the context of the story. Sorry, phone's ringing. Let me just put that onto silent. Right. I suppose it does in the context of the story. So you have to do the Alliance Alert Armor Rasa to recruit HK, which was actually quite short and painless. You don't even have to leave your base at Odessen to do that. A little drawn out, and I suppose it's kind of cool, if a little pointless, unless it actually does change something about the character once you're complete that whole sequence.
Right. I don't know.
Possibly, or at least you're meant to think it does. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was kind of cool. And yes, and then I actually played through the chapter itself. The writing was awesome, as in there's lots of funny lines. I did quite enjoy it. I felt it really dragged with the combat. It just seemed to be... Now, it is kind of cool to play as HK and to traverse all those environments which normally you would not be able to because you're a droid.
Yep.
The way they did it, sort of replacing your character and its abilities with HK looking like HK and HK's abilities, reminded me a lot of what Lotro has. It's a capability called Session Play. I believe we probably talked about it when this whole thing was first announced.
Yes.
And I always found those a bit irritating because you have to... There's a new set of abilities and you have to work out what they all do, and they're kind of cool, but it's still not natural for you on that character. That's okay. So as a sort of special event, I suppose it's all right. I guess we also discovered how to pronounce Z00M, the droid. Zeo-Ohm, instead of Zoom. I was very happy to see that it did not use the KOTOR style of dialogue. It was fully voiced, which is good. I guess we accepted that, or expected that, because it was just another chapter. And a couple of tips. When your rifle blast ability, that is the default ability in the one slot, you can actually fire that when moving, so that's kind of cool. And when you pick up stuff, I was wondering, what's the point? Since you're HK and not you just have your regular inventory. If you open up your inventory, you can see all of your stuff. And it looked like you did get your class buffs applied, but you couldn't reapply them because you'd sort of lost them. So I would suggest that before you kick off the chapter, just fire that off to give yourself the 60 minutes of however many buffs you've accumulated. Otherwise, it'll just run out during the chapter.
So. And you can also have a stim.
Right. So overall, yeah, not bad. And, well, we won't spoil the story, obviously, but the revelation at the end I found perturbing, to say the least. I was wondering, is this canon? Is this actually really part of the story? Or is this just a dream sequence or something?
It was that extreme, yes. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like one of those vanilla
that you wonder if it's actually canon, or if there's going to be yet another twist that sort of brings it sort of back to where it kind of was.
Right,
so.
Yeah, definitely possible.
So it sounds like I missed one of the better chapters, if you consider it part of the chapters.
I'm afraid so. Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, but
No?
I enjoyed it a lot. So
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just
okay.
upset that I missed the shroud. Like I told you before the show started, I would have paid all my subs without even playing the game just to continue on with the shroud story. If they would have told
Cool.
me that up front, I would have subbed right away. But they might not have known. Who knows?
they left some money on the table.
all right. However, Chill has a lot to say, so over to you, Chill.
Oh, okay. Well, first, shout out to the chat room. Let's see, we've got Anog here, Bill 646, Blaze here, Count Luku, Dortharo, Deathrow, Dekion, Kahana, Hawk is here, Hoopra, Likai, Eliva, Maximus, Merlin, and let's see, Pahalchin. He gave me the pronunciation. I still can't do it quite right, I don't think. Kuze's here, Siskaika, Trig, and Zen are all here. Hello, everyone. All right, and got a few sessions in on Chill Satan, got through Rishi and most of Yavin 4, just about level 65. And so that's going well. I'll get back to that. But yesterday I did do the HK chapter. Liked it a lot. I did like Zio. Very well voiced. In fact, there's some tweets that I just saw on the way home, where, from the actual voice actor. And I tweeted back to her, and yeah, she seems really awesome, and she did a great job.
Is that
Zio,
the female droids?
It is, yeah.
actor? That's Christina V.
Yeah, she did an excellent job. I liked the character because that sort of friendly puppy dog character can easily go kind of too far or just seem kind of get grating, but it never did for me. And yeah, I really enjoyed that a lot. So I think for me the new abilities were actually kind of a bonus or a positive, just because I think just learning them made it so that during the combat didn't feel too samey same all the time. So I was actually still learning little details of it, about to past the halfway point certainly. So figuring out little ways to get the number 4 ability off more often and stuff like that.
I'm embarrassed to say I actually died on HK several times. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but the ambushes where the droids appear behind you, the whatever appear behind you and attack your companion, who happens, in my case, was healing me.
Right.
Yeah, they just took her out and...
Oh, then you're in trouble, yeah.
Yes.
The one time I got in trouble was with one of the champions, and Zio was on heels, but was line of sighted and was not moving.
Right.
So
right.
I basically jumped and ran towards her, and then she healed me. Actually, and
Could
I
have
hit
been
one
a
of her
bit of that
abilities,
going on too. Right.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, if they get line of sighted, sometimes they don't pick up on it right away. So yeah, I also hit an ability to make sure that she tried to heal me.
Right.
Yeah, so overall it was a lot of fun. I think I will take that stream and put it up and archive it so that it doesn't just go away in a week. And
push it to YouTube.
Yeah, and it does feel like I hadn't heard. It looks like you can do this on each character who that you get HK on.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because I would like to see it, because if I did the first time through, I mean, there's different kind of flavors. There's not exactly light and dark side. It's all HK for sure. But there's some that are where he's more bemused, others where he's just kind of upset, and some where he's like just kind of angry. So so there's like kind of like, I didn't get those last two flavors just right, but they definitely wrote it with different sort of angles in mind, and it actually, for me, it worked out really well, and it actually makes me want to see it at least a couple more times, see some of the other options and so on. And there was someone in the chat room earlier was saying that, yes, if you do the Armarasa a little bit different, some of the conversations in that chapter end up being a little bit different.
Ah, there you go.
Which is kind of cool. I was wondering about that, because there are times where he talks about targeting and so on, and it does kind of harken back to the Armarasa chapter or mission. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and that was yesterday. So that'll bring us to the tip of the week. And we've got 4 tips this week. I'll start us off with one from Descartes, who writes, Sotarista mentioned the Odessan quick travel. Why buy it when companion window allows quick travel to the ship droid in the cantina? And Sotarista replies, it's great to buy if you don't want to do the first 9 chapters of Kotfi on that alt, or if you aren't high enough level yet.
There you go. I thought they had limited when you could actually get that quick travel ability to prevent people going too early. I don't know what the cutoff is. So
yeah, I've never tried to buy it ahead of time.
Right. All right, our second tip is from Akuzan of Jedi Covenant. This is something that I have gotten caught in and thought I would share it with your listeners. It has possibly been brought up before, but with all the new dark versus light characters being created, this might be a good reminder if you have a lot of money on one character and think to yourself, hey self, I'm going to create a new character on the opposite faction and buy an outfit and mail it to them. Make sure you preview the outfit on a character in the same faction, as some outfits look different depending on what faction you are.
That's true.
So there you go. Nice tip. Thank you, Akuzan.
Yeah, they used to do all that way a long time ago, and they finally started making them shareable across factions.
I thought
style.
Certainly all cartel market items, and I thought pretty much all gear now was the same across factions. But
yeah,
everything from the early game. Yeah.
Yeah, everything was.
Right, a lot of early stuff. Yeah, exactly. All right, third tip from Terenzal of the Power Converters Guild on the Harbinger. Here's my tip this week. Do Kuat drive yards for XP and super fast leveling. Sorry, Tio.
Sorry.
Reasons. 1. Lots of mobs, meaning more XP. 2. Often bonus missions, more XP. 3. It does change a bit, so it can be less boring. And 4. The mission for finishing Kuat drive yards gives about 4 times as much XP as the other flashpoints. I got 140,000 for KDY at level 43, compared to 35,000 for other flashpoints. Your mileage may vary with XP boosts and so on.
There's a lot of achievements and stuff tied to KDY and a few different, also the reputation vendor as well. So I probably should run it more myself. Maybe I'll do that to level up some of my DVL character.
All right, our fourth tip is from AJ. For the HK bonus chapter, I have 2 tips before you launch the chapter. First, make sure your own character has all their gear equipped. Stats do carry over despite you playing as HK55. Relics may proc as well, but I didn't pay attention to that. Refresh your class buffs. And second, refresh your class buffs. Can't do it when in the chapter, but playtime is roughly an hour, which is what I mentioned myself. So, yeah, good tips. Oh, and he also says, Bioware Austin did a great job with this chapter. Great mix of fun combat, story, and humour. The unique environment midway through the chapter was stunning, and hope we see something similar in the future. I find the new companion endearing. And yes, you do. Is that a spoiler to say you end up with, however you pronounce it?
Zoom. Let's just go with
Zoom.
I still want to say Zoom, yeah.
Rather than Zeoome.
Right.
Yeah. A little much.
It looks like there's even an option to not take her on as a companion. At least it seemed like if I chose that one that it might happen that way. But I didn't try it that way, so I don't know. All right. Yeah, I guess that's a minor spoiler. And let's see. And then there's a bonus tip from Fibro Jedi, last week's guest. 4 steps to sharper, clearer screenshots in SWOTOR for free. And there'll be a link in the show notes, and that's to fibrojedi.me.uk.
His blog, where he goes into quite a lot of detail about what you can do to first take the screenshot and then use software to enhance the image. Very nice.
And Kuze, you have some tips?
Earlier when I was looking at the show notes, there weren't this many tips, but I'll go ahead and add it in here now because it might be useful to somebody. When coffee came out, in the past they used to convert the comm badges, which are now the data crystals. And I think when coffee came out, they did not convert any of them, and you just straight up had what you had before. So if they follow that same line of thought and they actually upgrade the gear and whatnot in Kotet, my advice basically is to go ahead and start stockpiling all those data crystals that you can now. So when Kotet comes out, you can go straight to the vendor and pick yourself up some decent gear.
Genius.
To help you along the way. So we'll see what happens. What they do, they could convert it all back down just to the green, or they can actually leave it as is, and you'll be on your way.
Yeah, cool.
Another tip I had is for a little bit of credits. Something I found the other day. I had I actually had a bunch of cartel certificates left, and I took those cartel certificates and I went to the vendor on Fleet, for the Deco vendor on Fleet that accepts the cartel certificates, and I ran through the items that he sold, and then checked the GTN to see what the values were for those items.
Right.
And I found the female Twi'lek dancer. I used one cartel certificate and sold it for 10 million. So
wow,
that's
dang.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna kick myself in the ass for telling everybody that, but if you haven't, by all means, go for it. I'll do a little competition with you on the GTN. That's fine. Maybe you on a different server, and I don't have to compete with you. But if you have some laying around and you forgot about them, there might be some potential high-end credits there for you. And that's all I have for this week.
Very nice. Cool. All right. By a random allotment, the winner is Achuzan. Congratulations. You're the winner of an M8 3R droid or Tonfon pet code, courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided cartel market pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Wednesday. And that will bring us to the Holo feed. Tio?
All right, let's start, before we get to the HK game update, with the DVL event. Just a quick update on where the needle is pointing between the dark side and the light side to choose our Heisenberg companion. It's still leaning towards the light, and the numbers really aren't changing that much at this point. 52.89% of dark side choices or points accumulated are going to the light side. 47.11% to the dark side. So
It would take a mighty effort to bring it back to the dark at this point.
I could say it's pretty much impossible unless everyone started making dark side choices. Sure. Yeah, not going to happen. So anyway, that looks like the way it's going to go out. Now, SWOTOR tweeted that because of every week, around the 5th of the month, they're doing something to celebrate the 5 years of SWOTOR. That's happening this year. And they have released 5 never-before-released soundtracks. And they put these onto YouTube as a playlist, so you can just listen to each one on YouTube. It's Oricon, the Dread Fear, Rishi, the Oasis, The Shadow of Revan, Yavin 4, The Teeming Jungle, and Ziost, the Grave. So just a bit of background music, basically, from those different areas. So cool. Now, let's talk about Shroud of Memory. Firstly, GameSpot, a reasonably long-running website, GameSpot.com. They have released an article that previews the Game Update 4.7.1 and the HK 55 chapter. So that came out just before the chapter was released. Now, one thing that I did want to mention from the article, it doesn't really say anything we don't know, but it did say the game's last 16 chapters, as in those in Kotvi, have been developed on a month-by-month cycle, which has granted BioWare the ability to use fan feedback to adjust things like gameplay, combat difficulty, enemy attacks, and even the story at times. So they've alluded to this. Ben Irving did in one of his live streams, that they really were just changing things on the fly. Now, the story they probably can't change a lot, because anything that's voiced is done in advance, and thus they can't change what actors have said, but everything else would be up for grabs. So certainly any droids, any characters who are droids or aliens where they don't need to record, they could easily change their dialogue. So it's unclear.
They can't do it like when you do on TV, or when a movie is explicit or something, and they bring it to TV, and then they have somebody else do the voiceover for like a little bit of it. You can tell it's a clear cut in from somebody else's voice to the person cutting out the bad words or whatever. Yeah.
Do they still do that? That was an old days thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
old
it's pretty
time.
bad sometimes. Yeah. So Musco can just fill in some of the lines if they want to do that.
Kuzo. Alright, so then we come to Game Update 4.7.1. Supposed to be 4 hours downtime to deploy it on Wednesday morning. Delayed a day because of Labor Day on the Monday. They had to extend it by a couple of hours, though the patch was available for download, and then it was live. And, yes. So there were issues with lag. and initially, but we'll get to that. Firstly,
Okay.
just want to talk about who had access to the chapter. Now, SWOTOR tweeted out about it, saying that to actually play the chapter, you actually had to have recruited HK55. We mentioned that earlier. We didn't know that, because I thought there was a reasonable chance you could just turn up and play it a sort of arbitrary point in the story. So I guess but it turns out that, and as now we've played it, it makes sense. It's after you have recruited your alliance. So you have to have completed Chapter 9 at least. You have to have done the mission Find a Findsman, which kicks off the whole Alliance alert system. And you have to have recruited HK via the Alliance alert Armor Rasa.
Yes.
And, of course, you had to have been subscribed from the 11th of January all the way through to the 1st of August. Now, it turned out that a few people who had let their sub lapse for a few days over those 6 months or so, they have been able to play, including Chinook, DJ Red, Dread, Alex, Knight, and Fee, who thought that she'd forgotten to do it, but it turned out she was able to access it after all. So
Good.
it seems that BioWare have definitely erred on the side of being generous as far as this goes, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So people were worried if they were like sub dropped for a day or so that they miss out, but no, they have definitely done that. Maybe, I believe Chinook suggested that they were doing it as long as you were eligible for the early access each month, you would actually get the HK chapter. So
Probably
makes
something
sense.
along those lines.
It's probably
Yeah,
something
I mean,
easy. Yeah, it's probably something easier to track than.
yes,
When we heard
than
about this a
most
while
other
ago,
things.
after talking to that one customer service person about keeping everything that I had, because my sub had lapsed for a couple days or whatever because of credit card issues, where they don't let you renew your card or change your payment information, and then pick it up. Yeah, that I figured that they would do this. Like you said, it only makes sense. If you were subscribed to me, if you're subscribed for that month, you pay your money for that month. You've given them the right amount of money, whatever else, to earn the chapter.
sure. Yeah, and it seems they've worked out that way. Of course, they would err on the side of caution as far as that goes, or rather than screwing people unnecessarily, which is nice. Let's see. Now, there is also a new Alliance alert, Bonds of Duty, which will let you recruit Sergeant Rusk, whose first name is Fidelton. Anyway, I didn't know that.
Fidelton?
Whatever. That's a bit unfortunate. I really didn't need to know that. Anyway, there is a problem with that, though. So, at least some people have, in the cutscene with him, it starts and then abruptly cuts off, and they can't able to get through it. And BioWare have confirmed this is a bug. So, if you get that happening to you, don't worry. It's not just you. It's a thing, and they will hopefully fix that sooner or later. So, at the moment, you may have a little bit of trouble getting Rusk. Also, Bounty Contract Week is back, which is one of those things you need for the DVL event if you haven't done that yet. Here's another opportunity, and it begins, well, it is live now, and will be this week, basically, ending on the 13th of September. Now, just quickly running through the patch notes. They've added some titles for various social ranks, as in Social 1 through Social 9.
Oh.
The titles are Friendly, Outgoing, Coordinator, Guide, Chatterbox, Extrovert, Charismatic, and Leader. Okay.
I know in the past, I don't know if they've changed it or not, but the best way to level your social levels was by killing bosses in 16-man operations. I think I probably went from, 5 to 10 within a couple nights. I mean, that's how much social points you were getting from killing mobs in operations. Or 16-man. I don't know if it's changed or not, but either way.
I doubt it. Those kind of systems, they just leave alone. Now, if you've got the second legacy improvement to reduce the cooldown for the portable legacy cargo hold and the portable cargo hold, apparently it didn't reduce it, but that has been fixed. And that thing with the depth of Manaan flashpoint, the DVL achievement, where it said missing details data, that has been fixed.
Okay.
So remember, apparently that was just cosmetic, though other people were saying that wasn't the case. That is, if you did it, you got that, and it didn't actually count as an achievement, but Anyway, apparently that's all fixed now. Now, collection items now show their collection's status in their tooltip. Just yet another little quality of life thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did notice that the other day.
I saw that. Yeah, I was going to say I saw that too when I was hovering over something in my inventory. It's like, oh, this item. It said this is locked. Yeah, this is locked in collections.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I didn't notice one that had been unlocked, but that's cool.
It's brand new. Now, they've changed the whole pack opening experience in your pack opening UI. The next pack button in the pack opening UI now displays how many packs are available to open, which makes sense.
I was wondering where that was at.
Right. The reveal all button is now used. The reveal all option is now usable on the second page of a pack that contains 6 or more items. Do packs really have that many items? I'm not really familiar with the whole pack thing, so...
It's pretty rare, but maybe some of the older ones did when you were getting reputation items and, Jawa junk and gifts and
certificates and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, they've just tweaked the options just to make it a little more usable. And they have updated the description on a bunch of cartel packs. It was referring to super rare, and that's apparently now changed to silver. Well, silver had been around for a while, but some of them still had the old text on it. But the actual contents and drop rate is identical, so it's just purely cosmetic. They've changed Maelstrom Prison, so Grand Moff Kilrain in both solo and tactical version was apparently doing a lot of damage, so they've nerfed him.
Huh.
That's in that final fight where he's presumably sniping at you.
Mm-hmm.
At a guess?
And running.
They've added voice modulation to the Eternal Brawler, Battler, and Conqueror headpieces. Oh yeah, those are the things you get from the Eternal Championship. What else? New multiple weapons are now available from the Eternal Championship Arena Token Vendor. More and more stuff is going onto that vendor. You do have a reason to continue doing the Eternal Championship to earn those tokens. As well as that sweet, sweet hard mode operation level gear. Anyway, you'd have to do it a lot to earn that.
The salt cannon looks pretty nice. I'm gonna go grab that as soon as I can.
Right. Now, as I said they would, they have fixed the permanent spawning of the ancient threat on Yavin 4. That was preventing you from recruiting the little scrawny guy.
It starts with a T.
Agent companion. Doctor, no.
Oh, come on, chat room.
The archaeologist, come on.
Oh.
I know it starts with a T, I just can't remember.
Talos Strelic?
Talos.
Talos Strelic. Stops you recruiting Talos Strelic, that little archaeologist guy. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Now, missions that reward a complimentary experience boost now reward the non-cartel market version of that item. Interesting. I don't know what that means. That it's bound. And missions that previously rewarded minor XP boosts now reward major XP boosts.
Oh. Wow.
So the difference between minor and major is a minor lasts for an hour, major lasts for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've used an XP boost, to be honest.
They go for a lot.
That's right, not your thing, is it?
Let's not let's not speed things up too much. Now, one glitch with Game Update 4.7.1 was you get an in-game mail once you log into the game after 4.7.1 went live, if you are eligible to use to access HK55, and it says the mission is automatically placed in your mission log. Now, a lot of people found that wasn't the case, and they had to go to the personal Starship's mission terminal to pick it up. Now, when I logged in last night to play it, it was. I actually went to my Starship. There was nothing on my mission terminal. Then I looked in my mission log, and there it was.
Huh.
So they had clearly fixed it at some point. They said some of this stuff they could fix in the background, but they did have a restart of the servers on... That would have been this morning, on Thursday morning US time, and that ensures that anyone who had logged in and didn't have it in their quest log now has it in their quest log.
Cool.
So that's all fixed, but that was a little misleading for some people.
Right. I think, it might depend, like, whether you have done the Armor Rasa and so on, because you shouldn't have it if you haven't.
That could be the trigger. Yeah. Anyway, it's now there for everyone if you are appropriately eligible.
Right.
Now, there was a problem with ability lag as soon as the chapter went live. If you read the threads on the official forums, people are saying very nasty things, and apparently it was more or less unplayable. But they managed to fix that without any downtime and quite quickly as well. So it was just they changed something on the server side, everything was good.
Nice.
So that was cool.
I did, yeah. By the time I had played it, there was no noticeable lag at all. It was good.
Right. Now, that in-game mail that you get actually does explain that you do have to have recruited HK and done the mission and everything else. So that mail will be sent to you regardless of whether you've done all the prerequisites. All you have to have done is been subscribed. So you get the subscriber bonus email and then just satisfy the requirements and you'll be able to do it on that character.
I think I'm just going to take... I did get the HK helmet, and I do have some cybernetic costumes. I think I'm just going to take HK's helmet, put on one of those cybernetic costumes, and just run around like I actually have the HK chapter, just to make myself feel better. Didn't you play as a droid in the smuggler class?
Yes,
one?
briefly. Yeah.
Briefly, yeah.
You were like kind of a gonk droid sort of looking thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Now, Courtney Woods, who apparently was the author of Chapter 16, so just by the by, she tweeted, "Happy HK bonus chapter day. Congratulations to Hall Hood," another writer at BioWare, who wrote such a fun and hilarious story. So he did the HK bonus chapter.
That's great.
Now, Hall Hood later tweeted, "Happy HK bonus chapter day. I'm excited for everyone who'll be playing it. Free story hint. Sometimes it pays to leave your enemy alive."
Yes, if it's what I'm thinking of, then yes, that ends up being very interesting and amusing. So yes, but it might be fun to do the opposite too and just see it. Someone in the chat is saying, "Is Courtney is still with SWTOR?" Yes, but she's now a writer. So
and working on Mass Effect Andromeda. In addition to Star Wars: The Old Republic, the writers, because of just the nature of the way these games are built, are not dedicated to a particular game because that would be a bit of a waste, because they would not obviously be fully occupied all the time. So they work on the various BioWare properties, and BioWare needs lots of writers because all of their stuff does tend to be kind of story focused. And you may have seen the tech demo for Mass Effect Andromeda that was released a little while ago. Apparently looks incredible on a 4K monitor.
Yeah,
Which I haven't had access to.
I watched it. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so as far as that story tip goes, I think I know what he meant, and I got to admit I did not follow that advice because it didn't seem appropriate. Maybe I'll do that in a different character. Chill, you really need to mute yourself when you're typing.
okay.
Thank you. Now, Lewis, a listener, tweeted to us, and just to summarize what he said, "I bet in 2 weeks the HK mission will be on the cartel market, maybe even by the end of day one. Do you think they made it just for subscribers and spent all that development dollars and then would never actually sell it? But they've changed their mind more than once, and it's EA and they want dollars. It's okay for subscribers if they did this because they got it for free. I just hope it will be on sale soon because he missed a month." So, my initial thought on that was they just could never ever sell this because their integrity would just be destroyed at that point. If you make a promise that say something is going to be truly exclusive, you can't just then turn around and sell it later. Because why did we say subscribed just for that if they're just going to then sell it later?
Right.
Why would we ever trust them again? That's why they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Do you think given the enough time, a year or so goes by, similar to what they did with some of the other stuff, like the beginning of the chapters or certain expansions that we paid for? I know it wasn't the same situation, but they have in the past given stuff away for free that people had paid for. So I don't know, like I said, given maybe a year or two, they could possibly say, here's the HK chapter, or maybe if you pay this much, you can have it or something. I doubt it, but I could see it possibly given enough time.
Yeah, but again, that reasoning is sound.
Yeah.
But why would you trust them in the future?
I agree with you. I'm just
I mean, you can see it, and if they did spend all that money, as Lewis pointed out, on development, and it seems a little strange to just limit that to a... But again, we earned that by staying subscribed, so...
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, we will see. All right, that's it for covering Game of Thrones 4.7.1 and the Shroud of Memory. Let's talk about the Community Cantina. We knew it was going to be in New York Comic Con. They have announced they'll be there on the Friday night, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, so that is right in the middle of Comic Con, which starts on the Thursday, runs through to the Sunday. So this is Friday, the 7th of October, in obviously New York, New York. And of course, this will be, as we've mentioned previously, the deluge of information about Knights of the Eternal Throne. So if there was any community canteen you were going to go to, aside from the one that they'll probably do a Star Wars celebration next year, which will just be awesome regardless.
Yes.
This would be the one.
Mm-hmm.
So that is when we will find out all. I don't expect to be talking about much to do with Kotet leading up to that, because knowing the way they do this, they do tend to keep things pretty quiet.
I hope it's not just a, couple second trailer and a few tidbits. I hope there was some meat to this.
Yes.
Cantina.
Yes.
For their sake.
There's got to be. There's just got to be.
Yes.
Though, all right, off the air for a second. There's a whole lot of stuff to do with data mining. Those guys are actually trying to respect BioWare and not release the stuff that they've dug up. But sadly, they've been mining the PTS, which is still able to be hacked into, and they've revealed pretty much everything about it. I've avoided looking at what they have released so far. So
I saw that going around, but I haven't looked into it yet. I've been trying to avoid it myself.
Yeah. I don't want to know. I especially don't want to know about the story. If you scratch even just the surface of it, apparently you will get spoiled pretty badly. So,
right.
Just forewarned. Yeah. Now, I was going to talk about that this week. What's the time? How are we going?
Just an hour. Well, actually, a little less.
All right, chill. Tuesday, do you want to talk about that monetizing MMOs article? Given that you linked it to us?
Oh, yeah. We can do
Or
that.
can you talk to that and just tell us about it, and then we can just talk about it?
Sure. Let me find out where did you put it in here?
I did.
Or do you
It's
just want
below
me
the... no, it's there. It's just a bit further down.
Void. I guess
I'm just wondering, do we do the Charles Boyd thing? No, let's skip that. Let's save that for next week. I'm again thinking of the drought between now and October 6th. That's another month. All right. So next in the news, let us talk about an article that Kuze linked to me about a week ago. It was titled How Can MMOs Be Monetized Fairly on MMORPG.com. So Kuze, tell us about it.
basically MMO, a writer from the MMO websites, fairly, I guess, is basically just went over kind of a discussion of what do you feel is fair for. I really wish I read this before and today. Basically, what's fair? What's a fair pay model for nowadays? We've kind of went over this in the past on the show. Should there be a subscription fee? How do you feel about cartel markets or what are the cash shops in games? Again, like I said, I should have read over this earlier if I would have known. It's been a week or more since I.
That's all right.
Read
Just
it.
do you want to just read it first and then talk about it, rather than making my editing job that much harder?
If you wanted your editing job to be better, you guys can go ahead and go over it, and I'll just chime in. That's for sure.
I assume you brought it up because over the last two, they've been blah blah. Because it mentioned Black Desert Online.
Yeah, I just clicked on the article. Yeah.
Is there anything here to talk about? Actually, maybe we should just leave this until we've actually read it, and instead talk about the.
I wish if I would have had a refresher, it would have been all right.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, last week I did mention that Charles Boyd was interviewed by the Den of Geek, and they were talking about basically Kotfi and what comes next. So I thought we'd just go through the questions and the answers that they put to Charles and how he responded. there's just some interesting bits and pieces in here. Now, because they are talking about how they're going to design Knights of the Eternal Throne. So firstly, they asked, when designing Kotvi, did you internally weigh the pros and cons of continuing SWOTOR's story-heavy approach versus choosing a more standard MMO-ish open-world type content expansion? Because obviously we know the way they went. So Charles said they always examine players' feedback and gameplay habits using the data that they have when designing new releases for SWOTOR, and they've seen a major demand for more of the BioWare-style cinematic storytelling that fans love and expect of us, and felt that this year was a fantastic opportunity to double down on providing that experience for our players. So again, this just concretes what we've heard all along. Right. Somewhere, somehow, they got it into their heads that everyone loves BioWare cinematic storytelling, which may or may not be true. And thus, Kotvi and now Kotet are just going to be that, well and truly. Next, did the release of Star Wars The Force Awakens tie into the decision to give Kotvi a 100% story-focused approach? And, well, the answer is probably what you would expect. They saw the film as a great opportunity to introduce Star Wars fans to the deep and personal storytelling that's unique to SWOTOR and BioWare games. And so they ensured that it would be easy for new players, that is, people who saw The Force Awakens and thought, Star Wars gaming, oh, look, SWOTOR. And, yes, that's the experience that they got. So, sure. What about the chapter approach? Why did they do that? Because SWOTOR certainly hasn't done that before, and it really hasn't been that successful in other games that have tried it. And the answer was, the biggest factor that sets our game apart from others is definitely the quality and depth of our cinematic storytelling. So leaning into that strength felt like a natural move. That didn't really answer the question about chapters. And yet that is what he asked. So I think he kind of ignored it.
Right. Well, the question was phrased in such a way that the question was followed by like 15 seconds of exposition. So I don't blame him for not understanding what the question was initially supposed to be about.
Yeah, all right. Because I'd like to know the answer to that. Why did they go chapter-based? Well, there's a cynical answer. Keep people subscribed. But actually, no, that's actually probably the real answer. And quite reasonable if you want to make money. Because otherwise, why would you stay subscribed? If you're just doing the story.
It was probably easier for new players coming in, like they're saying, from The Force Awakens to pick up at 60. And that's why they created that 60 token and gave them some easy gameplay to get involved. And hopefully they would pick it up and stay with it, I guess.
Is there anything you wish you'd done differently regarding the launch of Kotvi and the content that's been released? And Charles says, humility is a core tenet of BioWare's design culture. We work very hard to learn all that we can from everything we release and find ways to improve. They pay attention to feedback, basically, and the stats that they get from the data. We certainly learned a lot from each of our episodic chapter releases, and he feels really fortunate to have had the opportunity to apply those lessons every month and to do our best to make every chapter better than the last. In other words, he hasn't actually given any lessons learned, but he has said that as they get feedback, they are improving as they go. We did see that ourselves through the various chapters that came after Chapter 9 monthly in Kotvi. They did kind of make them less. For example, the combat was less draggy in terms of just endless sky troopers. They actually made it a bit better than that as they went.
And Ben Irving actually quoted on the same thing and went into a tiny bit more detail to that. But
yeah, and he is sort of saying essentially with the chapters, it's like you get a little mini release. Like instead of Makeb, and then a year later you get Shadow of Revan and so on. Instead, you get a little mini release every month, and it's a lot more feedback, a lot more, active information that they're getting. So all of a sudden, they're becoming experts on doing all these mini releases, as opposed to having to gear up and have a huge release once a year. That if anything goes wrong with, all of a sudden it screws them up for months and months and months.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been their fastest release schedule, but they have given us huge content in the past in between releases or full expansions. Strongholds and Starfighter and
Oricon,
and
that kind of thing.
A lot of Zyos, I think, came out. It wasn't in
CZ 198.
CC198. So that, yeah, I mean PvP maps and new operations. I think it came in between sometimes. So it was definitely farther apart than the chapters were, though.
Now, some players, myself included, Ask Town of Geek, can't help but feel a little lost in the game outside of the new COD feed chapter releases. The story content is great, but endgame itself seems, well, a little lacking, since there are a few open world activities to take part in and few new maps/worlds to actually explore, which is a big problem in terms of the chapters being in the instance areas only, and we're not really getting proper planets.
Right.
I've talked about that before. What's your advice for players in this boat? And Charles says, absolutely one of the most common feedback points. What a shock. And we've heard it loud and clear. And they're going to do something about it in Kotet.
I found myself when I was loving my DVL character playing all the side quests and actually enjoying myself doing those side quests, probably more so than the main storyline of the character. So hopefully they have some of that in the future with the injected into their storytelling.
Some of Kotfi's earlier chapters felt a little disjointed from the rest. Was this something that was intended in order to build up the story for later chapters, or was this accidental? That would be all of your various recruiting chapters. We have some you form a companion, story, get them as a companion, until the finale, where it actually did sort of double back on the actual story itself. And Charles says the overall storyline of the chapters was planned from the start, but they took the opportunity of using the episodic format to experiment with different experiences as they moved through the chapters. More open world gameplay versus more directed, more character focused versus more central plot focused, etc. They were experimenting on us. We absolutely expected to see different responses to each one, and it's been great to learn which aspect of the chapter storylines our players love most. So it was just like a massive A/B test, sort of. Actually, not really, but yeah. So they were just trying different things, and which is fine and actually really cool if you can do it in sort of small, focused, bite-sized chunks, and just see how players react, and that can inform what you do in the future. So that is something episodic storytelling and releases lets you do. Will SWTOR's future development continue in this chapter-focused story direction? Now, that's a great idea. A great question. From a story writing standpoint, chapter style is really strong. Led to significant improvement in the quality and presentation of the story. Personal perception, chapters are most fun when binged and played together, rather than spread out individually. Are you telling us everyone should just subscribe right at the end, Charles? And then just binge through it? Are you? But as with anything, we'll be examining player feedback first and foremost as we decide future direction. So they may, in fact, release all the chapters, do them all in one hit, and then release them all at once, or maybe in a couple of chunks or something like that.
Right.
What might change in the next expansion? Players seem to really enjoy getting the Warzone, Arena, and Eternal Championship in addition to the chapters. What? No. So coupling that data with the player requests you mentioned earlier, we would like to include more of that type of variety of gameplay in addition to the story chapters in the future, which is pretty much what Ben Irving said in the last producer live stream. Gee whiz, in addition to story, we might actually pay attention to gameplay. So this is good stuff.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said some replayable gameplay at that.
Indeed.
Something that I actually like doing over and over again.
Yes. The decision to take SWTOR's story out of the original worlds was also interesting. Are there plans to return to those planets in the future and perhaps see some of the changes the war has brought about? And Charles says, I agree, that could be pretty interesting. Non-answer, which probably means, yeah, sure.
But that's their whole reasoning for some of their level sync was to do that exact thing. It was to be able to go back to those planets without having huge disparities in level on that planet.
Which means they could also inject additional content onto those various planets.
Right, exactly.
Why not?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the reasonings for doing level sync was specifically that. So.
Yeah. But there's story on those various planets. I mean, in theory, it'd be ideal if you could just take the whole galaxy in any order that you wanted to level up. But it is still, even though the leveling, even though it's there that lets you do that, the auto sync, level sync, you still can't. You do have to do it in progression.
Mm.
Yeah. Finally.
You can go down, but you can't go up, basically.
Yes. Now, finally, now that all companions can now provide all combat roles, it almost feels like there's a bit of a lost identity with some of the newer companions. Oh, I can't remember half of the companions I have now. Their names or anything. Like the ones you get from the Star Fortresses. Apparently you did get an additional companion with each one.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
That's right.
Sure. The personalities are well written, but as odd as it sounds, the fact that some companions prefer to tank instead of heal, for instance, enhances personalities. Will we see future content that perhaps focuses more on the backstories of the companions added in Kotfi? Well, that would be a lot of future content if you went through all of those. Anyway, we will definitely continue, says Charles, to explore all of the new characters introduced in Kotfi. Really? Along with their backstories and motivations as we continue the story through chapter 16 and beyond. Okay. Well, that's all right. Story. So anyway, that's the interview. I'll link to it, of course, if you want to read through it again in detail. No real revelations, but it did kind of line up with what Ben Irving has been telling us as well. So, to summarize the whole chapter thing, maybe they'll stick with it, maybe they won't. We're going to get more story. Kotet is just Kotfi over again, but this time they're going to actually pay attention to things other than story, such as gasp gameplay. All right. And that's
again,
news.
To reiterate, everything they did in Coffee was to make it easier in the future to develop things faster, like operations and all that stuff. They said, we're doing this. I'm trying to be hopeful here. We're setting a foundation for future gameplay or content.
I can't wait to see what they do with the next tier of gear that we'll probably get with Kotet in terms of up-leveling all the PvP gear and all the operation gear. Are they just going to offer the next tier of gear in the same massive suite of operations?
Yes.
I'd say the answer to that is probably yes. Maybe they'll throw in another operation or two, or maybe they won't. We'll see. And that's the news.
All right, that'll bring us to the Academy, and this week in the Academy, Sotarista will explain the basics of PvP, including how to gear up. Thank you, Sotarista, and that will bring us to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And Frankie Denham asked us to shout out a YouTube playlist containing videos with Frankie narrating all 3 Force codes, the Sith, the Jedi, and the Grey Jedi. And there'll be a link in the show notes. Very cool.
Yes, the level on one of the Jedi Code videos is a bit low, but when I listened to these, I thought, is this guy a voice actor? It's actually quite good.
That good, huh? Okay, excellent. All right, Charlie Kranitoko wrote, KOTOR and SWTOR were slightly mentioned on UK TV last night. Let's see, folks, and they consider, and I'm trying to figure out what he was actually trying to say here with the last part of the sentence. Let me try it again. Okay. Charlie Kranitoko wrote, KOTOR and SWTOR were slightly mentioned on UK TV last night, and folks, and were considered good games on it. And then there's a Reddit link, and yeah. So
Go
that's
8-Bit
nice.
is a new Monday night gaming TV show where celebrities battle it out in 5 video games throughout the show. Well, that sounds kind of terrible, but I'm sure it's fine. He says it's pretty hilarious in this Reddit post, and their 4th game to play was the newest Star Wars Battlefront game. However, in the introduction they were doing, both KOTOR and SWTOR were shown on screen with numerous other Star Wars games. Though many were removed, as apparently 95% of them were rubbish, yet they kept what they considered a few good games as seen here, and they've got a hard to read, or hard to recognise screenshot with various games on it, but Star Wars The Old Republic looks like it's got pride of place there at the back.
Yes. Front and, or
nice.
back and center, sort of, like the big guy in a group photo. So that's kind of cool.
Can't underestimate the value of mentions like that on just general TV, because people hear that and think, oh, Star Wars, a MMO, and maybe actually go and play it.
I remember it was on Big Bang Theory a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right. So Johnny, the Dark Lord of Pork, writes in, what Fibro Jedi said on OotiniCast about using SWTOR to escape the pain and worry of the day is spot on for me. It frees my mind. And then he also wrote, turns out Eric Jorgen is almost as photogenic as Koth. It looks like he's been trying to get Eric killed because he's got a bunch of pictures of him in various death poses during the chapters where he shows up.
Some people don't like dogs, some people don't like cats. So poor
That's
Eric.
Let's see. Hawk wrote, OotiniCast, were you out and about again? And there's a couple pictures of some Jawas. My friend saw these little guys at WonderCon. Whenever a camera was pointed at them, they began to steal stuff like the Jawas they were.
That is awesome.
Their dad assured her that yes, they know they're adorable. That's awesome. Really good costumes, too.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
All right, now we have a decision to make. We can either talk about the Char L email that I've been holding on to for months, or we can finish it there.
Okay. Well, we don't have a
Sarlacc Digest.
Sarlacc Digest.
This
do we?
probably could be a Sarlacc Digest.
Right. Let's see.
All right, let's just do it as a bit of force feedback.
Okay. Did you want to read it then, or do you want me to?
Uh,
Because it's really long. You might. I mean, since you're probably more familiar with it, it might make sense for you to read it just so you can skip stuff if you need
yeah,
to.
yeah, that's fine. And there's a bunch of stuff. It's not the whole thing. There's a bunch of extra stuff as well. All right, let's finish with an email that we got a while ago from Char L. And he was wondering what we thought about the apparent progress towards better than cross server. Now, better than cross server has been one of those things that was kind of mentioned at a fan event in Las Vegas, and well, it was mentioned, I think, by Michael Backus at some point. And there was a post by Eric Musco where he did talk about the kind of things they were going to work on to deal with the concerns of things like queue times for war zones and operations and flashpoints, and uneven server populations. Now, this is exactly what Eric said. At our fan event in Las Vegas, one of the things we stated is that we are going to address the concerns of things like queue times and uneven server populations, and that we would provide an update before the end of the year. Now, this was the 2013. Let me just see when it was. Just make sure. Or was it 14? Yes, this was at the end of 2014. So quite a while ago now, over 1.5 years. And he said, and these are the goals for the next year, which was 2015. To address issues of queue times across all types of content, both PvP and PvE. To rethink how we approach server separation. Remain sensitive to things like character identity. The continued ability to define your chosen server playstyle, PvE, PvP, RP, PvP, which are the server types of the time. We would also like to use this opportunity to enhance and create social systems. It's a big old galaxy, and we wanted to feel that way. Now, we all thought this was a prelude to cross-server, as in being able to queue up, depending on what server you're on, and just end up in a queue with people from other servers, such as they do in other games. A lot of them are the super server or mega server concept, even though you're on different servers. Your Warzone queues or your Flashpoint dungeon whatever queues are all shared across all the servers. But as we know, that never happened. Not in that way. So this is what Char L interpreted his goals in the context of the current game. Now, on the point of addressing issues of queue times across all types of content, he doesn't see any evidence of Bioware addressing queue times unless you count the extended period of time that 90 cartel coin transfers were available, so the players had less of a barrier to transferring to more populated servers. Now, that 90 cartel coin transfer time was forever, and as we know, they actually brought it back for an extra week, in case anyone had missed out on that. He could be right, because the consequence of being we now have some extraordinarily heavily populated servers, and some other servers that are not so heavily populated. In fact, they're kind of dead.
Right, they moved over. Yep.
Yeah.
I see some Reddit posts sometimes on from different servers. Is anybody here anymore on this server? Am I on the right one? It's pretty funny.
All right, next, to rethink how we approach server separation. Well, BioWare certainly hit the mark with this one, eliminating designated server types and making all servers equal in terms of gameplay mode support. Now that's an interesting idea, because I think when we saw server separation, we were thinking more along the lines of they're going to remove the barriers between the servers, but
Right.
no, I guess when you say separating servers, now they're all the same with the gameplay focus areas. And that certainly does, on the other point, defining your chosen server playstyle, PvE, PvP, etc. Yeah, they did. Gameplay focus areas solved that once and for all. Meant any server is the same as another. So
Yep.
maybe they did have that in mind when Eric made that post, because they certainly did it in that time frame. Remain sensitive to things like character identity. Yeah, and he says, not sure there is much to evaluate on this one. One thing that seems to be associated with this goal is SWTOR now allows one space to be used in character names, opening up a lot more naming choices for players. True. Very
True enough.
true. Yeah. And it absolutely has. You can now have whatever name you want, and the chance of two people colliding with a first name and a surname is extremely unlikely. So many more combinations. And on the point of we would also love to use this opportunity to enhance and create social systems. And Charles says, I didn't notice much that has improved in this area. Guild cap was increased from 500 to 1,000. Nice, but not sure if this will substantially improve life for players in guilds. You can whisper people from guild window. I guess that can be considered an enhancement of an existing social system? Guess. Marginal improvements for sure, but not super substantial. Now for guild management, the ability to select multiple and then do operations on them as a guild leader, that is fantastic. Like, grab a bunch of people and then change their rank. Like people in the same players' characters, given they're all in the same legacy, displaying that legacy name in the guild list, being able to mark your main. All these little things are little systems that they've done to enhance the social systems, I guess you could say, at least as far as guilds go, and guilds are the personification of, social in MMOs.
That's good for the management side. A while back, one of the cantinas, I forgot who it was, had mentioned something about they have a lot planned for the guild, and maybe it was the raising the cap, but in my mind, and I'm sure other people's minds, they were probably thinking more benefits of being in a guild, not just from the management side, but from the actual player side of, maybe getting certain rewards for being in the guild for so long, or doing so much, donating so much, or whatever else, something along those lines. A system in place, a guild achievement system, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was hoping for that, but I mean, anything's welcome, I guess.
Well, at least they improved the guild list such that it actually displays correctly. Forever I had to click the show offline members and unclick it to actually see the list. Still? Really?
Yes, it happens to me sometimes, I think.
Jeez, I thought they really fixed that. Anyway, so when you actually go through the list and the way that Char-El has analysed it, it turns out maybe they really have done a whole lot of stuff. But there was an announcement at New York Comic Con last year where he said, I'm pretty sure this was Ben Irving. Maybe it was Michael Backus, but I thought it was Ben Irving who said at this year's New York Comic Con, the one we're going to have the big Coated announcement, they would also be talking about a couple of initiatives to do with the better than cross-server thing. So I don't know if they've kind of forgotten about that one, or it's just been overtaken by events, which is certainly possible. Or maybe they'll just summarize what they have done and said, yep, we're good, all win.
You're right.
This is what we did.
Yes. And isn't it great? We've got to say, on the Harbinger at least, I have not noticed any kind of issues with the massive population, and the Harbinger does have a massive population, even more massive these days.
You figure they must have done something, because you figure it would have gotten worse from the issues that we've had in the past of always Harbinger being down and refugees going to other servers for a while until the Harbinger came back up. But it's been, I haven't been back for that long, but it seems a lot more solid than it used to be.
Now, that could be a function of the number of players actually active at any given time, but don't know. Regardless of how many characters transferred there, are they playing as much as they were in the older days? Don't know. All right, anything more to say on that? And any questions?
Seems pretty accurate. So, I do remember that comment from New York Comic Con, of course, and it does feel like either some things have been delayed a bit, but we'll see. Or maybe some of the server changes, like so now you can do PvP and so on the same server. Maybe that is like one of the major pushes that they were looking for, and then which only leaves one other one. So maybe they will announce one more at New York Comic Con.
Hopefully they do, because this is the type of information that I would like to see at the Cantina event, and not even necessarily what KOTOR's story entails or whatever else. Is changes like this is what I really would love to hear, and I think it would go a long way if they released something like that.
Agreed. All right, let's wrap it.
Okay, then, that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /c join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @utinicast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, utinicast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to utinicast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you to Kuze.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.
Keep recording, gentlemen. I think I'll use a Christina Petrarca, our favourite voice actress. One of her
I like that one.
Utini Rages. Actually, she did a whole lot of them, so I've got a whole bunch to actually choose from. And she put the sound effects on them, and there's well, yeah, they're good. Does Chill forget the guild names? He's reading off a script, so in theory he shouldn't. It's just a pause for effect.
Yep, that's for the official podcast.
Indeed. All right. Let me see. Anything else to cover? Or next week, I don't know who our guest is, but I'll think of something, no doubt.
Okay.
Kuze, thank you for being on, of course.
Yeah, thanks.
And all right, everyone. I can't think of anything else, so another week of travel, and we'll be back next week. May the Force be with you, or serve you well. Whichever way you roll. So, yeah.